Greetings and welcome again to Nature's Bounty. It's such a privilege for me to be with you, and I praise the Lord for that. Let me have a moment just to say thank you and then to commit this program into His hands. Let us pray. Thank you, Holy Father, for the privilege to share natural health care. Bless us with your presence, that the words that I speak will be from you and it will be well directed and well understood. This is my plea in the name of Jesus. Amen. Welcome again, and such a privilege. I was asking myself, what happened? Why do we like gardening or not like gardening? And I was reading my Bible one morning, and then I got to Genesis chapter 2, verse 5, and it says, after stating a few instructions, as I will call it, God said, there is no one to till the ground. And in a few verses down in 15, he said, I have made man and I put him in the garden to till it. I found that very interesting. Why did God make man and then he gave him the food to eat and then he put him in the garden? For what purpose? Well, there are many reasons, but there is one reason that I found is that God wanted man to walk, to move, to exercise. Therefore, let's look at the topic of exercise and see how important it is for our well-being. In exercise, that is where we find, after eating a good food, nutrient-dense food. We get them from plants, natural eating habits, eating at regular times, eating enough to satisfy the needs of the cells of our body, all the needs of the cells being satisfied. That part of the need of our cell being satisfied also has to do with exercise. If after a good meal, the body is not well exercised, there will be no proper circulation to enable the food and the nutrients from the food to reach every cell of the body. Good digestion and good assimilation equals good health. Therefore, the circulation of the blood from the nutrient, of the nutrients also, to all the cells in our body requires that we exercise. When we choose to live naturally and to prevent diseases, and to maintain good health, or even when we get sick and we seek to do what is necessary, we take a personal responsibility for our health. And natural health care has a lot to do with personal responsibility. In this part of the world, in Africa, we have a real need for personal responsibility for our health. Why? We don't have enough health resources, hospitals, clinics, to cater for our health as much as other developed countries, as we call them. Therefore, for us in particular, we need to take personal responsibilities for our health. We need to understand the things that are around us that we can use. A lot of us don't have money. We don't have a lot of money to be able to go to the big hospitals that can take care of our health needs, or to have personal physicians that we can call upon every time that we have a need. To take care of our children often will demand that we know what to do. Supposing we can't get to even the hospitals that are around on time, we need to know what we can do to help us. That is why natural health care is very, very important. And I'm happy that it is called Simple Remedies. I know that God is very fair. In Simple Remedies, both the rich, the middle class, and the poor can have access to nature. So everyone that decides, well, I want to take part in my health and well-being can do so. All that then requires is knowledge, knowing those things that are good that we can pick up from the environment. Well, one of these important things is exercise. There's an acronym that has been used over the years in many institutions that I have attended and in many literature. They use several acronyms. I like the one that says God's Plan for the laws of health. There are 8 of them that have been well established, well discussed, well researched into. And these 8: nutrition, exercise, water, S stands for sunshine, New Start is the one that I'm going through. But I have spent quite some time in talking about nutrition, and I believe it's time to look at exercise together. What exactly is exercise? How can we tap from what I read about a legend that describes exercise as the fountain of youth? That if you want to stay youthful, if I want to stay young and I exercise very well regularly at the right time, at enough intensity, I will be able to stay as a young person. That's a wonderful thing to think about. And it is indeed good, because there has been enough evidence to show that if we exercise very well, the right intensity, pay close attention to what we are doing, then we will live much longer. It has been established, and I believe that we can continue to benefit from this. I know there is no doubt about it that communicable diseases, that is, diseases that can be easily transferred, is still a problem for us in this part of the world, in Nigeria, in Gambia, in Zambia, all over Africa. Nevertheless, lifestyle diseases is now competing with communicable diseases. We are now seeing that we are imbibing the Western world's type of diet, type of lifestyle, which has to do with a lot of sitting down. We call it sedentary lifestyle. Offices, schools, markets, we sit down a lot, and this is affecting our health. Therefore, what should we know about exercise that we can build into our lifestyle and help us to enjoy even better health as we continue to seek to do the best for our health? Whether in childhood, whether in youth, adulthood, we all need to exercise. Yes, there's a need for exercise. Vitality, vigor will be the reward of exercise. And I will list some of those rewards one by one and see. But action is the law of our being. We were created to move. We were created to walk. We were created to do. Humankind were not created to sit down. Therefore, when we sit for too long, it affects our well-being. It affects our development. Don't we notice that when children begin to walk, they like to run? They like to play. And it doesn't take long before they start sweating, because that is the way we are made. We are able to expel impurities from our body through proper exercise. If we don't, we will not be in a healthy condition, because there will be impurities that are supposed to have been released through exhalation, through the skin, and through other excretory organs. If we don't do that, then we are going to not enjoy the best of health. There is an adage that is commonly used. It says, use it or lose it. Now, this does not apply only to our hands, our feet, or to what we are running or using in our homes. If we don't use it, we lose it. It also has to do with our organs, our internal organs. Our heart, for instance, needs to be exercised beyond just sitting down. That the heart, from the moment we are born, the heart, not even from when we are born, from conception, at a point the heart starts beating, and it beats until life ceases. But it must be properly exercised. Otherwise, it will not beat as long as nature has ordained it to beat. Therefore, if we don't use every organ of our body properly now, exercise is what enables us to be able to balance every organ in our body, whether our liver, our kidney, even our brain. It is proper exercise that enables our brain to have enough circulation, enough fluid that's supposed to be there, and not clogging where it's not supposed to clog, slowing down where it's not supposed to slow down. Our heart is in the best condition when we exercise, even in sickness. The one that is sick should still go out. as best as he or she can and do a little bit of work outside. Because you see, when we exercise, we also combine it with other benefits like sunlight early in the morning if we go out in the morning. Then fresh air, we breathe enough oxygen into our lungs. And you know, when we exercise and move and our heart work faster, our lungs also bring in more air into our body. And the air comes with oxygen, which our body must need. Now, let me itemize very quickly some of the benefits of physical exercise before I then give suggestions as to what type of exercise that we can take part in. There is a good feeling that comes with exercise. Life becomes more interesting. Let's take a walk in a quiet wood, safe, with a spouse or with our children, or in a field, and the feeling of goodness and well-being automatically comes in. Until we try it before we see it. Exercise strengthens the heart. I already began to mention that. Without exercise, the heart cannot work as long as it should. It is heartbreaking when we do not exercise our heart, for out of the heart comes the issues of life. Therefore, it needs enough strength to do its work. If it's not exercised, it won't be strong enough. When athletes, when they exercise and they practice and they practice and they have to do a lot of strengthening for their muscles and so forth, they exercise their heart. And what happens? Their blood pressure is usually or almost regular. Their pulse, which is their heartbeat, is low, which means the heart will not need to work so hard when the heart is in a resting position. So when the athlete sits down, the heart is not pumping as heavily compared to the one that do not exercise. The sedentary office worker, the sedentary market person, the sedentary trader, or whoever sits for a long time in a sitting position for his or her labor for a long time. Exercise automatically lowers blood pressure. When we exercise, because the heart does not need to work as hard, automatically the blood pressure drops. So when we are thinking about high blood pressure, exercise is an important factor in maintaining good blood pressure. If we take all the medications for high blood pressure and we don't exercise, you will find that after some time they won't have any effect. Because the body cannot keep on going without making the muscles of the heart to be strong. You know, our heart is just as big as our fist. And when we move it, we will see that it will not work as hard. Therefore, the blood pressure will automatically be much lower. Exercise relieves anxiety and stress. I have tried this many times. There was one time I got a letter that really disturbed me. And I felt I should sit down and reply the mail. And my heart told me, no, don't do that. Get up and take a walk. It caused so much anxiety and stress. I was almost beginning to give a headache. And I knew that if I exercise, it will relieve all of the tension that was building up. And I took a long walk. By the time I came back, replying the letter was easier for me and in a better mood. Exercise relieves anxiety and stress. Exercise increases our overall energy. I work in the farm now, and sometimes in the morning when I'm approaching my place where I work, I don't feel as strong as I think I should be or I feel. But when I start moving around in the farm, start doing a few things in the farm, before I know it, an hour has gone and I'm still enjoying what I'm doing. Why? Because there has been an increase in strength. Exercise improves circulation, good food, good digestion, good assimilation, plus good circulation equals good health. That is the definition of good health. It's short summary. Exercise is the part that will give the circulation part. It's nice after a good meal to take a walk. That's not the time to do vigorous exercise. We don't want to do vigorous exercise when the stomach has been loaded with some good food. We want to just move around very calmly and not move too much. Exercise will help us to prevent the following diseases. A lot of research has been done into it, and I would like to read the list. Osteoporosis. Why is it that countries where they supply and they have a lot of milk, they still suffer from osteoporosis? Osteoporosis is the weakening of the bones, especially when it weakens the vertebra, the backbones. The person would bend over. They have researchers have given enough look at it and found that lack of exercise, usually it happens to more women than men. And you know, as women, we often don't exercise as the male counterpart. We move only within the kitchen and the bedroom and the living room most of the time. We don't usually go out and really be involved in physical exercise, except if you are a gardener or a farmer. Then you find that farmers do not usually have osteoporosis. Those who have osteoporosis, who bend and who have breaking of bones so very quickly, are those who do not exercise. So no matter how much calcium that we take, we will not have strong bones except if we exercise. Cancer, that dreaded disease. I watched the documentary of Dr. Esselstyn and others on trying to show us how diet and lifestyle affects our bodies. And given that Dr. Esselstyn himself and his dad were involved in breast cancer and so forth, they wanted to see what else can be done for cancer patients. And they found that with the right type of diet, you can prevent cancer. With the right type of diet plus exercise, plus other lifestyles that we'll talk about as time progresses, you can prevent this dreaded disease. And if you see it coming, you can turn it off, as China study well illustrated. They did a grand longitudinal study in China and found that cancer can be turned off and on. I will give you a reference to that book later on. But there are other diseases that exercise will help to take care of. Diabetes, for instance. It's so sad personally for me to see people dying from complications of diabetes. Diabetes can be reversed very quickly. Why? When you know the cause of diabetes, it comes primarily from diet and lack of exercise. Therefore, when the diet is corrected and exercise is put into place, diabetes can be taken care of. We don't need to die of these things. The Lord has put into nature enough to help us get over these problems. How about arthritis? That problem that many ladies go through. One of the things you will notice with people who have arthritis, usually they are overweight. Exercise will help us to get rid of the overweight. How about other and every cardiovascular problems? Cardio, heart, vascular, blood circulation problems. Well, because exercise takes care of the strengthening of the heart, the proper circulation of blood. If there be any slow movement of blood, well, because of the high-fat diet or lack of exercise, and we begin to have enough exercise, this can be taken care of. Therefore, the question is, what kinds of exercise will do this for us? What kinds of things should we do? Oh, should I need to go and get some sneakers and some tennis and get some money and register in the gym? And not everybody can do that. And I continue to emphasize that our God is very fair. Anything that is in nature that can be used for good health is available for the poor, the middle class, and the rich. Everyone. If we know them, then we tap from all of this. Therefore, well, if you have a gym, the treadmill, the ellipticals, and all the rest, absolutely use them. But if you can't afford that, that's not the end of the road for exercise. We can have exercise without putting money into all of that. Well, I have mentioned gardening, for instance. When we garden, it's one of the best exercises that we can get engaged in. It takes care of the mind. It takes care of the circulation, because the circulation helps the mind too. And then we have a reward of good food from our garden. So gardening is a very wonderful exercise. Take baskets, if there is no place where you live to have grounds to till. If you have a little ground, till it, work on it, plant some few seeds, nurture them, take out the weeds and all of these things, and you are already involved in exercise. This past week, I have been involved in harvesting tomatoes. And I used to say when I started gardening that I think the easiest part of gardening is harvesting. Well, I'm finding out that that's not so true. Every part of gardening is work, and that is good exercise. So now in harvesting tomatoes, I found that in bending down, standing, going back and forth, picking the ripe tomatoes, not wanting to pick just all tomatoes, I found that I start sweating. And I wonder, why am I beginning to sweat? I didn't hoe, I didn't cut, just harvesting. That itself will give enough exercise for the body. Our bowel mobility, that is the need for our bowels to move, is tied to exercise. Therefore, when we walk, it's a very good way of digesting our food. Because after food, we don't want to do vigorous exercise. Therefore, a walk, brisk walk, is very good after lunch. Or if you take a third meal, go for a walk after that third meal. Make that meal light because you won't be able to go far. Night will soon come. After breakfast, walk in exercise into your schedule. Walking is one of the best and cheapest way of exercise. It's very wonderful. Take a walk, but make it brisk walk. Walking is very good. It relieves constipation. If you eat and you find that this food does not seem to be going well, I feel like I'm constipated, take a walk. The walk will do wonders to the digestion of the food. Therefore, it's not necessary that we need a lot of money before we can exercise. Take a family member with you, a husband, a wife, children, friends. It's good for people in older age category. Maybe they are single, maybe they are divorced, maybe they are widows or widowers. Get a friend. Invite a friend to walk with you. The chatting, the sceneries, the flowers, the sky itself is enough to lift the spirit up. Walking is the cheapest and best exercise. You can walk with your children. You can walk with your spouse. You can walk with your friends. Nevertheless, keep safety in mind. I never forget to say that. If we live in an urban area where cars are running to and fro, going back and forth. For us in Africa, we use a lot of motorbikes, and the motorcyclists, sometimes they are in a hurry. Stay away from those type of places. Find quiet place to walk. Don't walk in highly populated places. Well, if I live in a place where the streets are busy and may not even feel safe as a lady in such a place, you can still do your exercise within your living premises. For instance, you can do step up, step down. Every home will have a little bit of elevation somewhere, whether the front door steps or you have a staircase in your home. Walk up and down the staircase for about 10-15 minutes. Go up, come down. Don't always, when you get to the office in the morning, use the elevator. Take a walk down the stairs, at least to the level that you are okay with, and then resume help from then on. But exercise can be worked into the program every day. Oh, a stationary bike at home, if you can afford it, fine. If not, a bicycle to walk and back, wonderful. Or a bicycle to the farm, or a bicycle ride to the grocery. It works the entire body. It's aerobic exercise. It's wonderful. Wash the car. It's good exercise. Clean the car very well. Mop it. Wash the tires. You see, the bending down properly, the stretching of the hands, and going back and forth, doing the work that you are doing. If you do this work outside, you get a double benefit. Therefore, it is very good to do every exercise that as much as we can, but don't let that stop us from not moving outside. We don't want to waive the issue of regular exercise aside. It must be regular. Then, after all is said and done, I would like you to keep this in mind. It's going to be boring, we often say. I don't have time for that, we say too. Of all the duties that I have to take care of, why do I have to set time for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, even up to an hour if you want the best of health? No, I don't have time for that. Well, let's do a little thing. One step at a time. 10 steps per day. How about that? Think about it today. Tomorrow, I will take a 10 step. I will wear a comfortable footwear. I will step out of my door and I will take 1, 2, 3, 10 steps. And then I will turn around and come back home. I assure you, when that is tried, it won't be long before the enjoyment and the benefit. Because if I go out in the morning, which I often do, and I just take a deep breath in and take a deep and release the air out slowly, that's even a lot of exercise for the lungs. Therefore, even if it is 10 steps per day, the optimum health will start from somewhere. It always must start from somewhere. Therefore, if you start from those few steps per day, that's the beginning. And that will go a long way to helping to achieve the 30 minutes per day. That is the real recommendation, or up to an hour per day, 4 days or 5 days in a week. That's all that is actually required for exercise. You know, God always wants us to have time for rest. He wants us to have time to relax. He didn't make us workaholics. But exercise into our regular schedule will go a long way. Why? Because the Bible tells me, says, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou may prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth." Till you join me again, as we continue in this trip of natural health care, I pray the Lord keep us all. Until then, we will continue to do the little we can, one day at a time. The Lord be with you.